It's Vicki Ross. I'm actually going to do a Think Pink, and this is for Creative Arts Collaboration, and it's a monthly group or some, around there, group of artists from all over the world who get together and do a theme piece. And this month for October, it's hashtag Think Pink. There's a bug. Okay. Art. Alright. So on October the 15th through the 18th, I believe are the exact dates, you can do a hashtag for Think Pink Art, and you'll come up with all kinds of videos, crafts, art, anything you can imagine. And again, it's from artists all over the world. So that'll be a fun day and our weekend, and you can expect up to 3 videos per artist over that weekend, 1 per day. I'm going to take this 12 by 12 canvas and I'm going to recycle it. And this was something that we had for a big house that we no longer have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand it. I'm going to use Deco Art Media gesso on it. I'm going to use white, and I'll be doing the sides and the front, sanding in between each coat lightly just to rough it up a little bit. And it'll probably take 3 coats. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be back. Alrighty, I'm filming this little thing with my small 4-inch fan with the cover taken off. Spin art. I have turned the plate upside down so that I can put an 8.5-inch square piece of paper on it. I have built a, I took some butcher paper, folded it in half lengthwise, and wrapped it around my workspace. Now, because I need room to get my hand up under here to turn it on and off, I've also got an opening, and I've got a piece of paper pinned to my apron. So we are going to go and... Alrighty, we're all gessoed. Everything is hidden, and even if it... excuse me. Even if it weren't, it would be okay because this will have drippies. I love drippies. I'm going to dry this just a little bit, so hang on 1 second. Alrighty, this is a piece of paper from Blush Glam from Craftsmith. And I want the edges torn. So what I'm going to do is, I've just got a Q-tip. I'm going to wet the edges. I have a ruler here with a deckled edge. I've had this forever, so don't know who. Oh, it's from Plaid, but I still no telling how old it is. Now what I'm going to try to do, except I need to do it from the other side. No, not necessarily. Never mind. Depending on which way you tear your paper, depends on which side the core shows up. The core being the unprinted paper under this, or part, the other layer. But because I'm going on a white background to begin with, really all I'm after is a jagged edge. And it's going on white, so it doesn't really matter if this is white. Now if I wanted it to be, let me show you. If I wanted it to not be white, I could tear it the other way. And you get a raggedy edge that matches your paper. Okay, you got it? It's the direction you pull it. I want this off there. Yeah, the ruler was helping. I don't have it quite wet enough, but by the time we get through with it, the raggedy edge is exactly what I want. Okay? Alrighty, I'm back, and I've got some pretty deckled edge. Now again, this is Think Pink. And the other day, Saturday, well, I'm going to start with that, I think. This is one of the spin art pieces I got from my spin art demo that I did. I've got lots of room around this for drippies or whatever I want to do. I can put this off center if I choose. So I can do a lot of things with this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this to my canvas. I'm going to make sure which side the hanger is on. It's right there. Now, next thing is, have I torn enough off of this one? This could sit off center. You can do all kinds of things. That's kind of nice. I could do it here. Round those corners to match these. Alrighty, I did tear off another 1/8 of an inch or so, and I'm happier with the space. It's nothing more than just a feeling. I didn't want the edge of this paper crowding that. So I'm going to use Deco Art Matte Medium, and I'm going to put it on with just a flat palette knife. I thought about using a heavier gel medium, but they only have this one thickness. So I'm going to let that set up just a minute, literally set up, and then I'm going to put another coat directly on my canvas. And it's not essential that you get it all the way to the sides, but it won't hurt. You want to make sure you haven't got any dry holes, because sure as shooting, those will be the ones. Ooh, I've got big dry spots down here. Those will be the ones that'll bubble. This is cardstock, so it's not going to be quite as likely to bubble. Let's see if I've got everything. Yeah, there's a little bit. And I like this flat palette knife because it gives you more surface area. You can use a credit card or room key, whatever. Hold it up, check it, and make sure you've got everything covered with a light coat. No dry spots. Alright, now center your paper, and I decided it doesn't really matter yet where that hanger is. I can always move it if I decide to. I want to make sure that I get everything in real good contact. My paper was already dry over on this edge. So just peel it up and go again. Alrighty, I've got that glued down fairly well. There's a few little stubborn bubbles, but by the time I get finished with it, it won't matter. Here is my spin art, and I debated. I was thinking about rounding the corners to match this, and I still could. There's no reason for this, but I looked at point, point, round, point. I could go point, point, round, round. But I think I'm going to leave it just like it is here. I love things that are off center and off kilter to the world. And Think Pink being about breast cancer, it certainly does throw you off kilter to the world. Spins everything up and spits you out, hopefully healthy. And so the next step is going to be to put this on. So I'm going to do that right now. Same method, same matte medium. Here we go. I kept having these little speckles. Here are all the paper pieces that I trimmed yesterday. And they kind of kept sneaking into my matte medium. And it dawned on me that maybe they were communicating with me. So what I did was I just went ahead and collaged some pieces of the scraps. And as I was pondering, the quiet little voice in my head screamed, "That's part of this piece. Use this." So then I got to thinking, it's a little bit of calm in this corner, and then all kinds of chaos, and then pieces splinter off and go off into the ozone. And that's all I'm going to tell you right now. I did have some other thoughts, and I'll share those as we go. I'm going to put some more of these on just for texture, and we'll go from there. I see something I don't like. Sticky fingers in matte medium make marks, but that's okay. I've got some more up here. We're not going to worry about that right now. Matte medium. I'm just going to add some more pieces. I'm just going to use my fingers since it all ends up there anyway. I am working with my fingers here and getting it all over me and the white paper and everything else. But as in all things mixed media, it doesn't really matter, because you can either cover it up or, you know, paint it white or whatever. But I'm trying to assort the pieces. I've got some from the spin art and some from the background paper, and that background paper is a cardstock, and the spin art is the butcher paper. So both are a little bit thicker than plain old copy paper. So you'll see me having to hold some of those until that matte medium gets a little bit sticky and cures it. But there'll be so many other layers it will hold. Here's the piece of paper that I was wearing on my apron, and the whole goal of that session on Saturday was to get the speckles. I decided I liked the speckles that were all over my paintbrushes and my table and my my alcohol bottle and everything, that I wanted to see if I could capture the speckles too, and I succeeded. And those are really cool. I'll talk about those here in just a little bit. What I used here were speckles from a piece of paper. I had this clip to my apron front when I did the spin art the other day, so that I could capture some of the dots. And that's what I've put on here, are some of the dots. Not all these colors on this paper were in this particular spin art, but these are all contained in these at some point. I've dried everything pretty well, and I did get some bubbles in my paper, and I don't really know if it's between the paper and the canvas, or if it's the canvas pulling up with the paper. It could be a combination. I think I think it's the paper. And that one, I'm just going to leave them. Now I could slice them with an X-Acto knife and slip some glue under there. That's the worst one. But I'm going to add texture anyway. But I can't help myself. I've shown this before, but this canvas has a backing on it, so I can't come at it from underneath. See, I just made a slit, and I'm going to slide matte medium under there. On there. That helps a little. I'm going to leave the others. I'm going to dry it again and I'll be back. I'm now going to cover the whole thing with clear gesso. If I wanted to alter or push back what I've got going on here, I would use white gesso that was watered down, and it would give it sort of a whitewash effect. But I don't want to cover it. All I want to do is protect it, and so I'm going to use clear gesso, let it dry, and then we'll go on and discover what kinds of stencils and modeling paste textures that we're going to get. Alrighty, I've got 2 coats of clear gesso, and any little hinky spots I see, I'm just going to dab with a little bit of white gesso. I managed to get fingerprints all over this, so, or dirty fingerprints, where I stuck to the stuff. Alright, oh crap, sorry. My alcohol sprayer fell off in my water. I have taken some Plain Jane's baseboard, which is a semi-opaque matte mist. It's called Red Rocks. And I've taken a little squirt of that and I've mixed it with the Deca Art Media modeling paste. I have a stencil that I cut. And this is a very oriental piece that is a phoenix rising. Here are the wings and the tail feathers. And those birds have special meaning for me. They just have a special meaning. And what more can I say? So I'm going to put this right here because the phoenix rises, and I'm going to put this tinted modeling paste very carefully and since that color is almost a dead match for what's going on in the paper, who knows what we're going to get. Come on now, up with you. Perfect. And I'm going to lay this face down on my junk paper here and just kind of get the excess off. I don't really care about the about getting it off completely because the original stencil was cut out of cardstock, and the more times you use it, the stiffer it gets. So you know, we'll know there's a phoenix up there. And I may line it back up. This is the gesso dauber again. If I knew what I was doing, I'd be dangerous. But there you go. Now, what else have I got pulled out here? I've got a little bit of a circular doily. And this time I'm just going to use plain white. And this is a Deco Art stencil. Perfect. Scrape off the excess and put it back in the pot. And this stencil I will wipe off with a wet wipe. This is the fun part of having a muse sitting on your shoulder. Remember when I made that slit and put some matte medium under it? That didn't totally work, but I did get an interesting mark with the where the knife mark was in the modeling paste. I've got a couple of other bubbles over here, and I'm going to do the same thing with them. I'm going to slice right through them. Just like that. And I am going to put some matte medium under there, just for safety's sake. I want to see if I can recreate some more of those marks. Here's one right here. Let the painting speak to you. Hope my head's not in there. I didn't quite cut through that all the way. I did that time. Where else? I've got one right there. This just plays into my theme of shattered pieces. And I want those cut marks to show. There's another one right here. That should be enough. I think that's an odd number, and I think I hit every one of those big air bubbles. I also took a little bit of that matte off my palette over here, that Red Rocks matte, and put it in a couple places around the edges. It's using up some more of that Red Rock, mainly just because it's there and I can reactivate it with a wet cloth, wet wipe. Okay, now where are we? Still need to let the modeling paste dry. We're getting there. I decided I needed some more. Butterfly's my totem. And after my tragedy, which was one of the silent ones, I looked up why there were always dragonflies on my feet when I was in the pool, and came up with a Native American Indian folklore that said the dragonfly is the soul of the recently departed coming to say hello. So there's my totem. And because these are in white, I can accent them or not accent them any way I want to. So if I want them to disappear, I can let them disappear. And back with the French text. I don't know what it says, so I'm hoping it's not cuss words, but I decided I wanted some more modeling paste, so I went back over to my stencil storage wall and pulled up this Stencil Girl stencil. And the reason is because it's circles, and that's basically what we're doing here, is playing with circles. Circular shapes. Repetition with variation. There's two. Let's put another one right up here. Let's do a squiggly one. I'm not for sure yet where I'm going with this. Perfectamundo. So I've got 1, 2, 3 circle shapes. That's cool. Got another circle shape here. This is also Stencil Girl. I want to pick up some of this. Not the whole thing. I just want right around this edge. I want that little circular. That circular shape. Oh, voila. A flower shape. This is off the Phoenix stencil again. Okie dokie. Now I have pretty much got the modeling paste dry, and remembering that this is my quiet area, very soft and orderly, I picked up this technique from Patty Tolly Parrish, and we all take what we can learn from everybody else's demos and combine them in ways that surprise us, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to start, and this is hot glue. I'm going to start off with something like that. There are no rules. I'm just going to make squiggly lines, and I'm making dams. I don't want any open spots. So if you see an open spot, clog it up. You also don't want a line to come direct into a corner. So you want it to be offset on the corner. And the reason for that is a visual reason. It's a, you just don't want anything going stark into a corner. There, how's that for a good reason? Because Vicki said so. And I haven't done this before, so it's going to be kind of interesting. You want some lines ending on the downstroke. You want some ending on the upstroke. Squiggles are good. Like I said, I don't know where we're going, but I'll let you know when we get there. And this has got to be a first for me, folks, because I haven't put my finger in the hot glue yet. Don't worry about the stringies, we'll get those up here in a minute. Kind of looking to see if I have a variation of shape. I've added some little dams here and there. And we'll see what kind of a shape where these lead us. Alrighty, that ends that glue stick, and I think I got some more out, but I don't think I need them. Alright, we're dry enough. Maybe not to touch, but dry enough that I can get the spider webs off of it. And if I leave a few, that's okay too. That one's telling me it wants to be left. And remember that this is for Creative Arts Collaboration, and it's Think Pink Art. Be sure that you watch my video and share and comment. I love to talk to you guys. And then watch the others. You do a hashtag search for hashtag Love Summer Art. And watch videos from people all over the world. And pick up a few new friends. That's the one that said he wanted to stay. And Patty Tolly Perry, she has a wonderful channel, and she is a breast cancer survivor. And I think it's wonderful that they can be public. The survivors are heroes. But don't forget about the silent heroes, the ones who have quiet tragedies that don't have a group or a support group, or you can't really put it on your resume. I'm a breast cancer survivor. And that means the friends of mine. I have a friend whose mother committed suicide, and her daughter was an alcoholic. Thankfully that's all cleared up. Remember those folks, because they don't wear a t-shirt that says, like my tragedy, I survived my daughter dying, or I survived my house burning to the ground. Those are silent tragedies. And so while you think pink this month, think about the unsung heroes, the ones whose tragedy may not be socially acceptable, or it makes people uncomfortable, so it's just not talked about. It's not the thing. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. We're going to wait for this to cure up. It's just about there. And we're going to see where the next step leads us. Alright, I'm going in with water. And I'm painting with water here. Just this section. Excuse me. I've mixed up some light pink. And I'm going to spray it and let it run. And I have some assorted sprays. This one is a Glimmer Mist. See what they do for us. I want it to trickle on down. Come on down. I'm looking through my fluid acrylics. That's in the wrong, well, maybe not in the wrong bucket. What I want is quinacridone magenta. One drop. Come on down, baby. I have a little bit of interference magenta. One drop. I think Patty may be doing one of her versions of this. Whew. I've got some modeling paste that didn't quite dry. If you see some spots that you want your underpainting to show through, just mop them up. Whoops. Quinacridone violet. I was just sitting here kind of worried about the fact that Patty might be doing this same technique. And then I remembered my alcohol. And it plays to my circle theme. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. Sorry, Patty. I should have thought about that. There's a little bit, a tiny little drop of interference magenta. Alright, I kind of like this to stand up, but y'all need to see it too. Ah, yeah, look at that little river running right through it. Get my alcohol over here where I can. Oh yeah, I'm liking this. Now if I take, I'm going to take some of the fluorescent pink. First place I'm going to soak this side. I'm going to take a drop, and that was a little more than a drop. Howdy doody. And I'm going to drop some white. I don't want you over there. Can you see how my little hairs are interfering with the way the water flows? And I think that's just great. Wish I had thought about putting clean paper down before I started. That would have made some nice drop paper, but I didn't. So we'll have some nice drop paper anyway. If you haven't seen my other videos on the alcohol, the water is what is necessary ingredient to make the alcohol move out of the way. And that's just isopropyl 91%. And it was out during the Spin Fest. This is Interference Blue. I have here Glimmer Mist, and this is called Cupid. I tested these the other day. Let's see what they do. Oh, that's perfect. And I just see something that might work into something. That shape looks like a wing. I don't want to use that one again. I want that real light one. And I want a little dab of Interference Magenta. Maybe just one more little dab. And just for grins. If you get something you like, put it down flat real quick. Maybe this will be enough different from Patty's where she won't hate me. We're a sharing bunch. That's what makes this group so much fun. This mixed media group is awesome. Everyone is so willing to share. I need one more over here. And I'm going to use the golden Come on, baby, run for me. There you go. I don't want you there. Oh yeah, look at that right there, picking up. Picking up around the modeling paste dots. After a night of, and I mentioned this later, of kind of looking at it and seeing what this piece had to say to me, I kept seeing a woman. And I thought, okay, well, we'll go with a woman. So the first thing I did was took a piece of junk tracing paper, deli paper, and I traced both sides of the glue lines so that I had something that I could play with to see what would appear. Will it be an octopus? Will it be a woman? Nobody knows. So my brain is, see my finger tapping, my brain is spinning because I've got a time deadline. So going over those lines real loosely with a black marker. And I'm going to use an old illustrator's trick here where you just keep adding pieces of tissue paper and redrawing parts of things on top of that. So I'm seeing if I can make a body out of this using the circle as a head. Measuring heads to see how her body will fit. A body typically has, a female has typically 6.5, 7 heads to the feet. That's just a general rule of thumb. It's just like when you draw out proportions for a face, 3 eyes across, or 5 eyes across the front of the head, and you know, there's all kinds, but then it depends on how it's tilted, and you know, it's just a starting place, just a tool. But I do know that that center of my spin is guiding me to be a belly button, and it's either that or crotch, and we don't really want to go there. And that's a Art S. Buck reposition, and she's missing an arm, but that's okay too. And it really helps get proportions of the body, and actually it just gives your brain something to focus on while the ideas are still percolating. She is long-waisted here. So I'm making her bigger, dropping the boobs down a little bit. If I'm going to do that, then I have to make the shoulders and the torso a little wider. Measuring with my, to my model, my, just checking angles and measurements so that I can kind of sort of get it into traditional scale, and then I can muck it up. But at least I know I started with some accuracy. Maybe a halo. And seeing what my drawing looks like with the glue lines on the piece. Cutting her out. This is all still a matter of stalling, you understand. Waiting for the light bulb to go off. I may repeat some of this in the upcoming clip, but if so, maybe I needed to say it twice and maybe you needed to hear it twice. Haha. Alrighty, you've just seen me come back on the second day, and this piece has been sitting on the table. Our TV's right over it, and I was able to catch it in dim light and see it but not see it, and from across the room where the colors and the values draw my eye. And I kept thinking about Patty Tolly Parrish and her technique, and I didn't want to be just like Patty, even though I really would like to be just like Patty. She's very creative, but I wanted to make this a wiki, and I just kept seeing from across the room a circle shape, and actually the circle shape I was seeing was right here, but when I looked at it, that really looks more like a head. Now the other thing that I was playing with was that if this piece comes together, a spiral, everything blasting apart, your whole world, your whole core is just spinning out of control, then this is the core. And how do I make the core be not at the crotch? I keep having that problem with some of my videos. My artwork just keeps ending up crotchy. Anyway, I drew this a little bit bigger than my model. You saw my Art S. Buck model. I don't know where I got that. I've had it for a while. But what I'm doing right now is checking to see where my glue lines are. It'd been a whole lot easier to have planned this, but who wants to do that? Then it becomes not so serendipitous. And I know I want to bring this leg down a little bit because I want her to be tilted. Again, sort of an arc. She'll be, her center of balance is on this leg, which I didn't draw that quite right. This will come down more straight and then in, and she's balancing on this leg. So I can make her torso bend just a little bit. And to keep her from looking like Mammoth Woman, I need to make these armpits a little bit deeper maybe. But since she's going to probably have long flowing hair, I can hide a lot of that. And she's got her angel wings and hair, and I added maybe a little halo. I don't know. We're going to see what kind of a good girl she is. So there's what I think I'm going to head for, and the center being this spot right here, which was in the middle of my spin art. And I'll probably have to enhance that just a little since yesterday's play covered up part of those circular lines, but that'll be easy peasy to get back. So you get back on there, honey. Honey bunny. Center on the circle. About like that. The way you check, I've got my model on the stand, and the way you check for angles is you hold your pencil. I'm looking at the angle of her, what's actually the shoulder on my left, and I'm bringing it straight down. It's not perfect science, but you can see that I've kind of got the angle. That one might be a little bit high, so we can bring that one down just a little bit. And these are real boobs, they're not boobettes. And they will probably be covered as well. Not because I have an aversion to naked bodies. Naked weighties, as our grandson used to call them. Hey Poppy, come look at the naked weighties. They're in the newspaper. And it was the entertainment section for the Denver Post. He was 4. Somebody put him up to that. You can be quite sure. Alrighty, and her neck is there. I think we're good to go. I'm going to trace around her with this lead pencil. She is also foreshortened, and what that means is that the point of view, the center point of view is right at her middle, which is here. So if you hold it like that, in proportion her head and shoulders will be a little bit shorter, a little smaller in proportion to what they should be in relation to the hips. Because your eye is seeing here, and as your eye goes away from the center of interest, you're looking at a further away point of view. Does that make sense? And this is something that Michelangelo did with the statue of David. It's when he carved it knowing that the point of view would be at the feet, because that's how high the statue was going to be positioned. So if your point of view is here and that statue is up, I don't know how many feet in the air, if it's life size it's 6-7 feet in the air to the top of the head, it would be shaped big down here and then to a real narrow triangle at the top. To compensate for that, and knowing full well what had happened, he made the shoulders big enough and the head big enough to appear in proportion when people looked at the feet. Now if you don't modify for that, then your like I said, your point of view will be bigger here. And then it gets smaller, then it gets bigger. You see? I don't have a clue in hell how I'm going to address that. Because if she's standing straight on to me, like my point of view is right here, then I've got, there's 1 pencil length, 2 to the knee. Okay? The second pencil length is right at the knee. Okay, let's put you aside. Now, I've got, let's just say I've got 1 pencil to the center and 1 pencil to the knee. So my knee is going to be way down here. Right there is going to be the knee. And that really doesn't matter. I'm just going to bring this on down. And this can come on, and it's slanted about like there. So this one will come on down about like that. And this one will come down about like that. So that's the knee. So we have enlarged her a lot, and that's fine. We'll work around it, whatever it takes. And the head and the shoulders are going to take care of themselves. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So this is belly button. Now, how are we going to paint this? She's got this capelet, and her arm, it's so funny how things like this work out. Her entire arm is in that fold of fabric, if you will. And this whole arm can be just going off in here into nebulous behind the wing, or whatever that is. So we need to bring down some shoulder. I didn't get a line there. Okay, so here's shoulder. And then this is just a straight line. It's fairly parallel. And there comes somebody to the door, or piss man. That's what my 2-year-old Sarah used to call the UPS man. Mama, the piss man's here, the piss man's here. Okay, there's the other neck. Kind of coming in like that. And I've done a beautiful job of alrighty dotty, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out Jane Davenport's favorite skin tone, which is called Flesh Tone. It's by Ceramcoat. And this has got a dauber top on it, and it actually seems to be working. Hallelujah. I let it get dry, but I think I'm still going to brush that. I don't want a big huge mess here. I want a soft edge there so that I leave myself some wiggle room to get out of it without having to, I can always paint back into it. Up goes the weasel. Pencil lines don't bother me at all. They're the mark of the artist, the hand of the artist. constantly checking and rechecking, even though my drawn model is wonky. It gives your brain a chance, or gives my brain a chance to catch up and decide to jump in. Okay, let's make a few more marks. We're being real cautious here, taking baby steps. Everything can be reversed, but if you've worked this out before on a journal page or something like that, you can attack this stage of a canvas with a little more confidence. But because I didn't do this, I'm resolving issues as I go. So that's why I keep putting that model there, trying to decide, or deciding where I'm going to go next. Drawing it a little bit. Stalling still. That is Golden Fluid Acrylic Dioxazine Purple. And that is a real strong color. But it's about as true a purple as you're going to get. And again, these are artist pigments. That's why the weird names. If it said Royal Purple, you can bet your bottom dollar it's got other stuff in it. I'm doing some negative painting. That's what you call when you paint on the outside of the object that you're working on. So I'm negative painting around her arm. I keep it real thin and feather out those edges as I go so that I don't get a harsh purple line as I'm moving away from the arm. And it worked on that side, so I'm going to do it over here. Hey, if it's working, keep doing it. There's a little bit of a waistline showing up. Things that you learn to think about are where's the light coming from, and that's not as important in mixed media like this as it is in realistic painting, but still it can help your shape take the form of a, in this case, human body, because it's all rounds and circles and columns, and they're all shaded depending on where the light hits. And keep in mind values to a certain extent. I decided to fill in that little dam area with some darker color, and it is leading right to the crotch, but I made that decision on the fly, but deliberate. I mean, it was just right there, so I figured it was telling me it needed to be there. And it doesn't really have to say that to everybody. It could be a dark strand of hair. It could be whatever you want it to be. Now I'm using a little bit of ceramic coat in khaki, and it's a little bit of a brownish color, but then your skin tone is a little bit of a brownish color. But painting it real thin over these purples and pinks that are already there, I'll get a real true skin tone because the other colors are going to shine up through it. And I am looking at my my model, my little drawing mannequin, and I turn off the light here to my left. I try to keep a warm light to my right, and I keep my fluorescent to the left so that I get good overall light on my canvas. But I do want to see how the light falls on that model with just one light so that I can make those boobies round and try to make them somewhat even. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm adding some of the shadow spots. And see the part of the arm away from my light gets a little bit of shading. I'm going to try to work on that hand just a little bit. That's not our focal point, so I sure don't want that to be the thing that jumps out at you. And here are the trapezoid bones, the collarbones. Kind of, sorta. I kind of struggle with them because as I said earlier, my model is out of proportion top to bottom, so make the best of it. And I think in the final result, those are pretty much hidden. See how that arm just kind of disappears? A little bit of titanium white. Now, when you've got a form, I've talked about this before, and that form is like a column where your light's on one side and your dark's on the other. The highlight will not be on that far left edge because that far left edge is already beginning to turn away from the light. That's what makes it look rounder. So I put the light, or the lightest light, in from that edge, and then I restate my darker colors on either side of it. So you sneak up on that highlight. And again, I didn't overdo it because I didn't want that to be a focal point. Come back in with a little bit of the khaki and a hot pink. And I'm still using Ceramcoat. That's a real good craft quality. And you can do minimal color mixing with it. And the green into that khaki and white mixture is a cooler color, and it will help that even turn more into the shadow. And this is a push-pull type of painting. You don't just make a mark and leave it. You make a mark and come back to it, restate it. See, restate some warms. That's the local color right there. That's the purest color on the arm to the skin tone, and from there it's either cooling as it turns into the shadow or warming as it turns into the light. And even though I don't want that hand to be totally realistic, you know, oh, well, that's a perfect hand, it does have to be somewhat symmetrical to the rest of the body. You can tone it down once you kind of get it looking a little bit like a hand instead of one of those carnival things with the crane that comes down and you try to pick up the stuffed animal. You just keep pushing and pulling, cools and warms, and then go to another area that's kind of settled down and dried a little bit. Work a little bit more there. Fingers work great to blend. Again, back on those trapezoids. It'd be a War of the Worlds movie. Warrior Queen. Putting a little bit of green down there where the shadow is. I've got a little bit of ultramarine blue out on my palette. Mainly because I've got so much purple going on. I thought I would see if that added just a little bit of a cool to the green. There's a little bit more of that khaki. I think I said somewhere that it's one reason I don't like acrylics is you don't need much paint for this kind of painting. So you put out one drop, and that drop is dry before you get done using it, so you put out another drop. Well, if you're working in oil, you can mix up a little dab of that, and it'll be good in 3 days still. Putting some little nipples on there. And it really is too early for them, but sometimes you'll do those kind of things 3 or 4 times till you get them kind of where you want them. The other thing that's giving me a little bit of a challenge, I've got that line of glue going right down her breastbone. Again, had I planned it, I probably wouldn't have had a dam right there. But just ignore it, keep going. I'm still looking at my model. Look at that one nipple now that's way higher than the other one. Kind of wonky. And see the way that reflected light just made that round area look rounder? Back on those damn trapezoids, man, that's just obviously bothering me. And that looks like a Halloween mask. Hey, I know, maybe this is Zelda the warrior woman and this is her armor. The other thing that is a favorable thing in favor of acrylic is that it does dry relatively easy, particularly when you're using it like glazes I'm doing here. Oils do too, but you know, 4 or 5 thin layers in oil, and you really need to either be using some kind of a fast dry medium or something, or let it dry overnight a little bit. But you can get quite a bit of open time with oil. Acrylics, you kind of got to be, it's just different. You know, that beautiful white highlight's almost gone. We're getting better, getting better. And now I decide to get out the pan pastels. This is also falls under the category of stalling. And little tiny minute little marks there. If I were in pastel, I'd be using the whole swath. But I'm just kind of seeing how the pan pastels are going to adhere on the acrylic paint. They'll do great on the clear gesso. I've used that before as a ground for real pastel painting. But adding, and that is the tray of the iridescence and the pearls, and we'll pick up a little bit of that. You have to be aware of the fact that you're going to pull it off if you go over it with something else. So at one point, I pull out my Spectrafix and spray it real good several times. And that's a fixative that was designed for the pastel industry. I'm doing negative painting along that hip. I wish my waist was that thin. Doing a little bit around that hand with the purple metallic that's in that kit, or in that tray. And just because it was there, I picked up that gold. Again, still in the pan pastel. And that is the metallic. And it's got a little bit of a greenish cast to it, which I'm not real crazy about, but it's there. Sometimes it's good to do things that don't conform to your sensibilities. I have dipped into the Deco Art. I think I'm going to show you here in a minute. I forgot what the exact name. Elegant Finish or something. It's a liquid metallic. Patty Tully Parrish uses a framing or a gilding, which is the real deal when you're putting gold leaf on frames and things. But I have not graced myself with, or blessed myself with, a jar of it yet, because the only companies that carry it, that's all they have that I want or need. Huh. There are those two words again. Is it a want or a need? Well, because I'm on the Deco Arts Helping Hands program, I decided to see if I could get a similar effect using their product. This is not a paste wax like the other, but it does have real mica in it, and it does look metallic, so I'm using it. And I'm painting, I should tell you, if you can't tell, painting the stripes of glue. Now, if anybody wants to call this an octopus with boobs, you just go right ahead. And here's some of the Deco Art Metallic Luster. This is a wax-based product. It will, I think I have to seal it. But I'm just going back over some of those areas. It's just a little different color. Still kind of a whitey champagne color. And they make that in, I don't know, 8 or 10 different colors. And I pull out the aqua here in a little bit. I think I even pull out some green. And I don't really mind that my female figure doesn't show up from across the room. I didn't intend for it to. After all, this is titled Silent Survivors. So it's okay if you have to look for her. And I'm kind of playing around with some hairy-like strands. I may add some splatters. Not for this movie, but when I put the finishing touches on her, now I'm coming in with kind of a coppery color and adding a little bit of dimension to those. All this hair really does just look like octopus legs, but that's okay. And please remember that breast cancer is not the only tragedy. It's not the only health problem with women. Ovarian cancer is huge. I have a friend who's suffering with that right now. And, you know, there's all kinds of heart disease and lung disease and emphysema and all kinds of stuff. It isn't just about breast cancer survivors. I'm putting in some green here, and that's that wax again. It kind of helps tone down the all the coolness of the purples and pinks. But it very definitely is the baby bear in this scenario. That's Papa Bear is your biggest area, your strongest color. Mama Bear is your second, and Baby Bear is just a little hint. And here is the phrase. I was going to do a toner with my xylene pen, but it didn't seem to work on this surface, so I just coming in with a calligraphy pen and to the Silent Survivors. Again, I didn't want that to be in your face. I want you to have to look for it. And then when you discover it, I want it to be, oh, look at there. It just kind of blends right in. I didn't see it. And again, being very subtle, I'm coming back in with that lead pencil and I'm picking up some of the circular marks that were in the original spin art. Putting a little bit of graphite on her. Doesn't hurt a thing. And it will all be sealed. So thanks a lot.